Ohio. Boston, the capital and the largest city of the state of Massachusetts in the USA. Boston is also the largest city of the region known under the name New England and also one of the oldest and richest cities of the USA. According to a census of 2012, the population of the city, the 20th in the number of the population in the country, about 636,000. The population of all area of Boston, including Cambridge, Brookline, Quincy and other suburbs, exceeds 5.8 million. Boston with suburbs is included into 10 the biggest cities in the USA and 250 biggest cities of the world. The city is known for the educational institutions. More than 100 universities and colleges, including such known as Harvard University, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, Boston University and Boston College. Boston has been founded on September 7, 1630 by Puritan colonists of the Massachusetts colony on the peninsula Shawmouth. The settlement has been called on the city of Boston, which was in the county of Lincolnshire in Great Britain, from where there were several first colonists. In several years in the settlement, the first in America have been open English language school and the first college, Harvard. To the middle of the 18th century, Boston was the largest city of the British America, however then has conceded this rank to New York. At the beginning of the 1768 years, commercial relations have been established with St. Petersburg. 18 / the 19th century. In the 1778 years, British have tried to strengthen control over 13 colonies by increase in taxation. However, after the events, similar to the Boston tea drinking, in the country, the War of Independence has begun. The Massachusetts colonists, having dressed up as Indians, on December 16, 1773 have got on the trade ships with tea freight into harbors of Boston and have thrown it overboard. The English government has answered with repressions against Massachusetts. After war, the city became one of the largest world trade ports. From here took away rum, fish, salt and tobacco for export. And descendants of old Boston families became economic elite of the country. War of 1812 has a little limited external trade activity of the city. However, merchants have found an alternative for the capital investments in this period, industrial production. Soon Boston becomes also the center of the tanning and tailoring industry, largest in North America. During the events connected with slavery cancellation, Boston becomes one of the centers of this movement. The ethnic structure of Boston has considerably changed from the beginning of Massachusetts immigration in the USA from Europe. In the first wave, Irish, Germans, Lebanese, the French Canadians, Italians and also the Polish and Russian Jews prevailed. The Irish and Italian immigrants have brought Catholic belief, and soon this religious community became the largest in the city. Kennedy's family is descendants of the first Irish immigrants. Between 1631 and 1890 the city has trebled the area due to land reclamation, having filled swamps, mudplains and intervals between moorings along the embankment. The greatest efforts on melioration have been made in the 19th century. Since 1807, soil from the raised hill Bicken has been used for filling of a mill pond of 50 acres, 20 hectares, which became Senia Square later. The modern Capitol is located at top of this lowered hill. Ameliorative projects in the middle of the century have created considerable parts South End, West End, the financial area and Chinatown. After the Great Boston Fire of 1872, workers used construction debris for construction of the central embankment of the city. In the middle, the end of the 19th century, workers have filled nearly 600 acres, 2.4 km, of saltish swamps of Charles River to the west from Boston Common with the gravel brought by rail from Hills Needham Heights. The neighboring cities: the Southern Boston, 1804, East Boston, 1836, Roxbury, 1868, Dorchester, including modern Mattapan and a part of the Southern Boston, 1870, Brighton, including modern Allston, 1874, the Western Roxbury, including the modern suburb Damamica Plain and Roslinell, 1874, Charlottetown, 1874, and Hyde Park, 1912, were a part of Boston. There were also other unsuccessful attempts of accession: Brook Lane, Cambridge and Chelsea. At the beginning and the middle of the 20th century, the city fell into decay. Industrial capacities become outdated, and workers leave out of borders of the region. In January 1919 has flooded one of districts of the city with treacle. Boston has reacted to it, having initiated various projects of updating of the cities under the direction of the Boston Management of Redevelopment, BRA, created in 1957. In 1958, BRA initiated the project on improvement of the historic district of West End. Extensive destructions have been met by strong public resistance, and thousands of families have been moved. BRA continued to realize expropriation, including clearing of busy Scollay Square for construction of the gloomy government center in modernist style. In 1965, near Dorchester, the medical center Columbia Point, the first public medical center in the United States, has opened. It generally served the massive public housing estate of Columbia Point adjoining it, constructed in 1953. This medical center still functions and has been renamed in 1990 into the Public Medical Center of G. Jerry Gibson. The Columbia Point complex has been reconstructed and updated from 1984 to 1990 in a housing estate with the mixed income under the name Harbor Point Apartments. By 1970th years, the city economy has begun to be restored after 30 years economic downturn. During this period, a large number of high-rise buildings in the financial area and in the Boston district Back Bay has been constructed. The city authorities have adopted a number of programs for reorganization and restoration of the historic center of the city, and also on conversion of a number of the enterprises, and in 1970 in Boston the new economic boom has begun. Hospitals and the medical centers became subject to implementation of innovative technologies, and the universities and colleges of the city attracted to themselves youth from the whole country. This boom proceeded to the middle of the 1980th years and has renewed after several pauses. At the beginning of the 21st century, the city has returned itself the status of the intellectual, technological and political center. The Boston department stores Jordan Marsh and Filene's were included into the New York Macy's. Acquisition of the Boston Globe in 1993 has been cancelled by the New York Times newspaper in 2013 when it has been resold to the Boston businessman John U. Henry. In 2016 it has been declared that General Electric will transfer the corporate headquarters from Connecticut to the area of Seaport in Boston, having joined many other companies in this quickly developing area. Geographical location. The city on the bank of the Boston Bay, Massachusetts Bay is located. Boston is quite compact city, with a total area of 232.1 km. The bulk of its territory is at the height of 5.7 m above sea level and a climax Bellevue Hill. It is located at the height of 101 m. Climate. Boston, as well as all New England, is in a zone of continental climate as the prevailing western winds reduce influence of the ocean. Summer is a rule, warm and damp, and winter's cold, windy and snow. The hottest month, July, with the average daytime temperature of plus 28 C. The coldest month, January, with the average nighttime temperature of 6 C. Annual precipitation makes 1100 m. Most of all rainfall drops out from December to March. In the spring and at the beginning of summer fogs are frequent. According to a population census of 2000, in Boston the following demographic indicators are registered. Quantity of households and families, respectively 239,528 and 115,212. Population minus 589,141 persons. If to take into account Big Boston, and not just the city, in total about 5.8 million people. Population density in Boston is made by the 4,697th person/km. On a census of 2010, the population of the city has made 617,594 persons. It is 4.8% more than in 2000. In the working days, the population of Boston can increase to more than 1.2 million in the afternoon, and during the special actions, to reach 2 million. Such sharp increase in number is caused by the fact that most of people lives in suburbs, and to the city comes to work, study. Recently the white population promptly increases because of gentrification. Racial structure of the population. Euro-Americans minus 47.0%. The Afro-Americans minus 24.4%. Latin Americans, all races, minus 17.5%. Asians minus 8.9%. Every sixth citizen, the Irish origin, every 11th Italian. In Boston there lives a significant amount of Armenians, 8-10% of all population minus 51,000 people. A population census of the state of 2006. According to some information, the number already exceeds 10% of the population of the city. Stepan Zadori, who is located here in the middle of the 19th century, was the first Armenian in Boston. Further, since 1880th years, Massachusetts immigration of Armenians to Boston begins. In the city there is a park of the Armenian heritage, the Armenian churches and schools work. In Boston there are also large Vietnamese, Caribbean, generally the Haitians and Dominicans, and Indian communities. Average annual income per capita minus $60403. Average age of citizens minus 30.8 years. Religion. According to the research conducted by the Research Center Pew Research Center in 2014, 57% of the population of the city identified themselves as Christians, and 25% visited various Protestant churches and 29% professed Roman Catholic beliefs. 33% do not declare the religious affiliation, while other 10% consist of adherents of Judaism, Buddhism, Islam, Hinduism, Baha'i and other religions. As of 2010, the Catholic Church had the largest number of adherents as uniform denomination near Big Boston, with more than 2 million members and 339 churches, and an Episcopal Church from 580,000 adherents in 160 churches. The Joint Church of Christ totaled 55,000 members and 213 churches. Buck is a successor of Puritan religious traditions of the city. Old Southern Church in Boston, one of the oldest congregations in the United States. It has been organized in 1669 by dissenters from the First Church of Boston. 1630. Among the former members of Club Samuel there are Adams, William Dowse, Benjamin Franklin, Samuel Sewell and Phyllis Wheatley. In 1773 Adams has given a signal from the Old Southern House of Meetings which has laid the foundation for the Boston tea drinking. Near the Boston subway, the Jewish population of the city makes about 248,000 Jews. More than a half of the Jewish families near Big Boston live in the city. Brookline, Newton, Cambridge, Somerville are the neighboring cities. Power. Boston has a strong control system of the mayor council in which the mayor, chosen every 4th year, has extensive executive power. Marty Walsh became a mayor in January 2014, and his predecessor Thomas Menino has spent 20 years on this post, having become the most long in the history of the city. The Boston City Council is elected each 2 years. In it there are 9 places in the district and 4 city places on Freedom. The school committee which exercises supervision of public schools of Boston is appointed by the mayor. In addition to the city government, the numerous commissions and public authorities, including the Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Rest, the Boston Commission of Public Health Care, the Massachusetts Department of Water Resources, MORA, and the Massachusetts Port Department, MassPort, play a part in life of Bostonians. Being the capital of Massachusetts, Boston plays an important role in state policy. In the city there are several federal objects, including the Federal Office Building of John F. Kennedy, the Federal Building of Thomas P. O'Neill Jr., Post Office of John U. McCormick and the Courthouse, Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, Court of Appeal of the United States on the First District and District Court of the United States on the District of Massachusetts. Both courts are located in the Courthouse of the United States of John Joseph Mauchly. The city economy is supported by education. More than 100 universities and colleges. The medical, financial and technological industries. The most important sectors of urban economy are financial, bank and insurance. So in Boston the headquarters of Fidelity Investments, Sovereign Bank, State Street Corporation and Bain Capital are placed. The city is also one of the centers of publishing, largest in the USA. Such publishing houses as Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, Bedford Street are placed here. Martin S. and Beacon Press. A considerable contribution in development of the city is brought also by tourism. 21.2 million tourists in 2011 have brought to Boston $8.3 billion. The fishery and shipbuilding, which were once making fundamentals of urban economy, have lost the former value now. Nevertheless, in Boston, the oldest in the Western Hemisphere, are still located a permanent shipyard and fishing port. Boston is one of the world's largest education centers. In combination with the developed infrastructure and highly skilled labor, it makes him one of world leaders in such modern industries as biotechnologies, microelectronics, and creation of new materials. Boston, the Beta City on Gold classification, its agglomeration is in the 6th place in the USA and on the 12th in the world on DDD volume. Transport. The city is served by the International Airport of a name of the General Edward Lawrence Logan. IATA. BOS, ICA. KBOS. With an annual passenger turnover of 29.3 million people. 2012, the 19th place in the USA. Scheduled services are performed to dozens of the cities of the USA and the whole world. The most loaded international directions: London, Frankfurt am Main, Paris. Internal: Chicago, Atlanta, Washington. The Southern Station. Boston, the largest passenger railway station in New England and one of the largest in the country. Daily from it tens of trains go to Washington, through New York, Philadelphia and Baltimore, and Chicago, through Albany and Cleveland. The main motoring highways passing through Boston and its vicinities: interstate highways of I-90, I-93 and I-95, and also S1 expressway. The system of public transport in the city is quite difficult, and is under the general management of the MTA organization. In Boston, the subway, oldest in North America since 1897. Consisting of 4 lines, works: red, orange, green and blue. Besides, 12 lines of local trains, 5 lines of the high-speed tram, on 4 tram and ferry lines, and also 183 bus routes work in the city. The system of public transport of the Boston agglomeration is the first in passenger turnover. 1.3 million people a day. Among all capitals of states of the USA, including the capital of the country, Washington. Boston is known in the USA for the convenience to pedestrians. About 13% of Bostonians reach work on foot. That is the highest indicator among all large cities of the USA. Boston is considered a northern extremity of east part of the Navigation Coastal Canal. Sport. Since 1897 in the city, the Boston Marathon, one of the most prestigious runnings in the world, is annually carried out. Also on the Charles River there passes the largest 2-day regatta, which is bringing together athletes on rowing from all regions. The Boston Red Sox team, founded in 1901, is a permanent participant of the American League of Baseball. In 1946, the Boston Celtics basketball club, which 17 times won the NBA championship, has been created, is more often than any other club of association. Besides, the city is known for the ice hockey team, the Boston Bruins, which 6 times became the owner of the Stanley Cup. In the suburb of Boston, they called Foxborough, the team on the American soccer, New England Patriots, the owner 6 Super Bowl is based. 2001, 2003, 2004, 2014, 2016, 2018. They share Gillette Stadium with team from Mills, New England Revolution. The largest stadium of the city, Fenway Park, has been opened in 1912. At stadium the games are held by Boston Red Sox. In addition to baseball games at stadium in the past matches of professional leagues of soccer, Boston Bicons and the American soccer were played. Boston Patriots. Distinctive feature of stadium is existence high, 11.3 meters. The wall known as the Green Monster, who is the left border of the game field and a popular target for beating off right-handed persons. Above a wall seats are located. Science and education. The city economy is supported by education. More than 100 universities and colleges, including such known as Harvard University, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, Boston University and Boston College. Annually to Boston there come about 250,000 first-year students. Smaller private colleges include Severovostochnaya University, Babson College, the Bentley University, Boston Architectural College, Emmanuel College, the Fisher College, Institute of Medical Professions of MH, the Massachusetts Pharmaceutical College and Medical Sciences, College Simmons, Wellesley College, College ULIC, Vendvodsky Institute of Technology, New England School of Law. Originally created as the America's first women's law school, and College Emerson. Agglomeration of Boston is the house for several conservatories and art schools, including College of Arts and Design of the University of Lesley, the Massachusetts College of Arts, School of the Museum of Fine Arts, Institute of Arts of New England, School of Arts and Design of New England, Suffolk University, Music School of A. Longoria Bard College and the New England Conservatory of Music, the oldest independent conservatory in the United States. Other conservatories include the Boston Conservatory and Berklee College of Music that has made Boston the important city for jazz music. Boston Alexander Bell has invented phone. In 1944 Howard Aiken and Grace Hopper have invented the first digital computer. Culture. In Boston there are world-famous a Museum of Fine Arts, the Boston Museum of Science, Isabella Stewart's Museum Gardner, Institute of the Modern Art, and in Cambridge, the Museum MIT, the Museum of Harvard University and Art Museums of Harvard. Museum Fogger, Museum Saclara and Busch-Reisingera's Museum. Theaters. Music uses high extent of public support in Boston. The Boston Symphonic Orchestra is included into the Big Five group of the greatest American orchestras, and the magazine of classical music, Gramophone, called it one of the world's best orchestras. The Symphonic Hall, to the west from Beck Bay, is the house for the Boston Symphonic Orchestra and the related Boston Youth Symphonic Orchestra, which is the largest youth orchestra in the country, and also for the Boston Pop Orchestra. The British newspaper The Guardian called the Boston Symphonic Hall one of the best platforms for classical music in the world, having added that the Symphonic Hall in Boston was the place where the science became an integral part of design of the concert hall. Other concerts take place in the New England Conservatories of Music in Jourdan Hall. The Boston Ballet acts in the Boston Opera Theatre. Other organizations of performing art in the city include the Boston Lyrical Opera Troupe, the Opera Boston, the Boston Baroque, the first constant Baroque orchestra in the USA, and Handel and Haydn's Society, one of the oldest choral troupes in the United States. The city is the center of modern classical music with a number of performing collectives, some of which are connected with city conservatories and the universities. Create them the Boston Modern Orchestra and Boston Musica Viva project. Several theaters are in the theatrical area to the south from Boston Common or near it, including Kettler Majestic Theater, the center of performing arts city, Colonial Theater and Theater Orpheus. The downtown is located on the Peninsula Shawmouth. The place is connected with the American Revolution, 1765-1783. United and National Historical Park, on which from the south on the north on the center of the peninsula there passes the tourist route Svoboda's Track, about 4 kilometers long. Svoboda's Track is crossed with a track of Black heritage, two places of the movement for the civil rights of the Black. The branch of Svoboda's Track conducts to the cemetery Copp's Hill, founded in 1659. The main points, Svoboda's Tracks, are the Boston Common Park, created in 1634, the Capitol constructed in 1798, the cemetery Granary, founded in 1660, with graves of outstanding people of the 18th century, the Royal Chapel, constructed in 1749-1754, with the cemetery King's Chapel, founded in 1630, the Old North Church, constructed in 1723, Old Salt Meeting House, constructed in 1729, the Old Capitol, constructed in 1713. Faneuil Hall, constructed in 1742, Paul Revers House, constructed about 1676, and in Charlestown, an obelisk Banker Hill, built in 1827-1843 in memory of fight at Banker Hill. In east part of the Peninsula Shawmouth, the modern business center of the city, the downtown and waterfront. The area of Old Port is located. In the downtown there is an administrative center built on a master plot plan of Benuming, with the new town hall constructed in 1968. In the southern part of the peninsula Shawmouth, Chinatown, in the country after Chinatown of Manhattan and Chinatown of San Francisco, is located the third largest Chinese quarter. In the southwest part of the peninsula there is an area Back Bay, created in the middle of the 19th century on the marshy riverbank Charles. In Back Bay there is John Hancock's Tower, constructed in 1972-1975, the Prudential Center with the observation deck on a tower 52 floors high, Macomb Building of the Boston Public Library, constructed in the Neo-Renaissance style in 1888-1895, and the new housing, Johnson Building, constructed in 1967-1973, the Church of the Trinity, constructed in 1872-1877. In the western part of the peninsula there is a region of Beacon Hill which is built up with Krasnokirpichny buildings at the end of the beginning of the 18th century. In Boston, the system of parks. An emerald necklace, created by the landscape architect Frederick Law Olmsted in 1884. And boulevards. Since 1893, the landscape architect Charles Eliot is developed. Traditions. Boston began the ancestor of North American tradition to meet New Year by the cultural actions providing full refusal of alcohol intake, the so-called First Night. Terrorist attack of 2013. On April 15, 2013, during the Boston Marathon there were 2 explosions. 3 persons have been killed and over 260 are wounded. Alleged perpetrators of the terrorist act, brothers Tarnow. The elder brother has been killed during detention, the younger brother has been detained and subsequently is sentenced to death into a large penalty. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.